All right, shalom, shalom to the nation of Israel, shalom. All right, this your brother Kazakia out of Great Millstone, New Orleans, coming at you with another lesson through the spirit and power of Yahweh Shem Shai. Right, but prior to getting started, you want to give all infinite honor and glory to Yahweh, Ba'ashem, Yahweh Shai, Ba'ashem, Harakakadash. Double honors to the elders and apostles at Great Millstone, who rule and teach well. Peace, blessings, and salutations be to the hopeful elect scattered throughout the four corners of the earth. All right, and the title of today's lesson is going to be Esau, Edom, the Edomites are anti-life. All right, that's the title of today's lesson is Esau, Edom, the Edomites are anti-life. Right, and this is Esau, Edom is basically the biblical nationality of the so-called white man. All right, and everywhere he has gone and set a foot upon, as far as the earth is considered, he's destroyed, man. Okay, and even though it seems like a long time and coming, so to speak, this man will eventually pay for his sins. Okay, now we know Esau, Edom, the so-called white man, is a vagabond, basically a fugitive, right? And that's basically a fugitive is basically somebody who's on the run from judgment, from justice. Okay, because they know that the things that they have done, is wrong, man. And this is just again just art. Okay, now I'll just read what it says. It says, since the Renaissance, man has ruined the air, water, food, and life in general, right? Now, the scriptures tell you that, pretty much Esau, Edom, okay, the so-called white man is basically, as death, man, wherever he goes, Okay, this man, has power, control, he manipulates, the people. He has a plethora of different things that he does to basically turn things into his favor and or destroy all at the same time, man. Okay, and this is just a few things here. We'll kind of zoom in here so we can kind of see what it says. Okay, and this is before, pretty much you got a before and after of every a picture, man. All right, and we'll just start with the air. Okay, this is air, what was pure. Okay, and you can see it's basically greenery, with the waterfalls, visibly, blue skies, mountains. Everything's beautiful, man. Everything was let me see what it says over here before I jump. Okay, yeah, I'll get to that in a minute. Everything's beautiful and prosperous, so to speak, man. Especially over here initially, in the Americas, so to speak. All right, but guess what? What came since his rulership is what's on the right side. Okay, what you see is basically looks like a like a factory, so to speak, a chemical pollution or some form of a plant, right? And it tells you here in industry, right? Industry emissions, burning fossil fuels, chemtrails is definitely a big thing, right? This devil, puts, basically, heavy metals, different chemicals, right, in the air, man. And that basically falls down, on the people, and it affects their, their health, man, over the course of time, man. And that's something that he does, on his own will, man. Okay, there's no need to do it, but he just does it anyway, right? Because he's the devil that the Bible speaks of, man. Okay, air pollution, climate change, right? He get that's another big thing, right? Climate change, right? He tells the person that you're basically, putting out too many what they call it carbon emissions, and that's destroying the air, man. Okay, that's You know, you're basically, or yeah, you can't say that word, but you're basically an element to society anyway. You know, if you get my drift. You know, but really, it's his mass um, production in these type of industries that are really changing, so-called changing the climate. Right? He comes up with all these different narratives to say he put a hole, in the ozone layer, so to speak. The equator's messed up, and he'll just come up with anything, man. The guy just says anything, lies about anything, and it's all for what? Power and control, man. You know, man. Like I said, if this man could put, air in a bag, he'll charge people to breathe, man. Okay, all right. This is the devil that we're speaking about. All right, move on to the second part right here. Is just water. All right, and it just tells you that water was life, right? Which it is, right? Is it water is a basic essential to life, man. Okay, and here, in Babylon the Great, aka America, we have to. That's something we gotta pay for, man. Now here it is, Yahweh by Shem Yahweh Shai has made water in abundance, man. Okay, in so much that you're not gonna run out of the water. You know, it's just that simple. But this guy, basically takes control over the water and tells you that you have to pay for something that's free. You know, it's just it's madness, man. Is what I'm saying. Okay, now I'll read what it says real quick in a caption here. In the picture, it says industrial waste, chemical pollution, plastic contamination, water scarcity, ocean destruction. Right, this man has destroyed the ocean. There's plenty of just trash in the ocean. Right, there's trash in the air. Okay, he's contaminated, the water with heavy metals. Okay, plastic. Right, you buy something that's in a plastic bottle. You know what I'm saying? You're getting microplastics in your system, which has been linked back to some ailments. I'll say that, or whatever the case may be. All right. Um, chemically polluting the water, man. And I've talked to a guy, myself personally, down here, which I can't, say for everywhere else on the, in the States, but the guy, he basically, works for, the sewage and water board. He tell me about all the stuff that they will put in the water, man. And that's basically the name of our water supply. If somebody's trying to figure it out, but basically, he, Jesus talks about how they're forced to do X, Y, and Z chemically to the water, man. Right, which is basically poisoning the people. And that Jake, which is this is a while back. This is many years ago, but that Jake, damn near, could break down and cry, but he's doing it though, you know. All right, we're gonna move on. All right, to food. It said what was natural. All right, and like I said, on the left, you see the, basically those greeneries, right? The pastures. You see the fruits. You see basically the vegetables. You see the trees, right, blossoming. Everything's beautiful. The land is good, easy to be tilled and all the rest of that kind of stuff, man. And then you're on the right side. This is the product of Esau, Edom, man, the Edomites, since the time of his rulership. Okay, now we speak on that word Renaissance, which basically I believe it means a rebirth. Okay, and a rebirth of Esau, Edom, the Edomites, the so-called white man coming back into power, man. All right, so ever since his rulership and his time and dominion and power over the earth, these are the things that he's done, man, which ultimately shows you he's not fit for rulership, right? And now we're in the process of seeing what the decline of Esau, Edom's kingdom, man. All right. And these Edomites are mad, man. These white people are pissed off, man. Okay. That's why you have them trying to incite so-called racial tensions. Okay. Trying to get Jake to, go off, right? So they could have reason to come down on Jake because they always want to blame Jake anyway, right? But this is their kingdom. It's their fault, man. It should be nothing, they should be mad with themselves, man. Everybody else is just living amongst it, man. And this man is a child, as a scripture say, and there's no way he should rule, man. No way. Okay, but Yahweh Bashem Al Shai is going to send his son back to put him out his misery. Okay. All right, over on the right side, it says monoculture farming. It says pesticides and herbicides, GMOs, soil depletion, processed foods. And man, there's nothing else to even say about that. We just, this is super heavy. You know what I'm saying? GMO, everything. You got to go and buy things that are so-called organic, but then they don't really be organic. Okay. I think after you plant something, that's GMO, you completely destroy the soil, man. Up to like 60 or 70% or something like that. Some along the lines of that. And, you basically have, 30% of, soil left, right? This man doesn't give the earth a rest at all, right? In the scriptures, you're supposed to, you basically have something called the land Sabbath, man. Where after X amount of time, you're supposed to just get the earth, right, time to rest, man. Okay, and he doesn't do that. He just keeps planning and wanting more and more and more, right? He just keeps going, man, which is ultimately destroying the earth, man. It says, processed foods. We basically just he's making us buy food that's fake food, man. Okay, that's manufactured food, man. Made up of different chemicals and elements that make you think that you're eating real food and you're not, man. And like I said, he makes you pay for it. And it's not even real, man. Only a devil would do something like that. Here it is. I found a way to create an apple, to take it through a certain process, right? But they're not real apples, And the same thing goes on and on and on for all these other foods, man. Yeah, man. Dude's the devil. Nothing else to be said about that, bro. All right, this is we're gonna move on to life and we get a few scriptures and might talk about the bottom portion of the picture and then close out, Lord willing. This is what was sacred. Okay, so the land, basically just full of life. Okay, you have plants, trees and animals. You had things animals being able to coexist, and live naturally, okay. But now on the right hand side, you basically, I'll read what it says and then I get into it. It says habitat destruction, right? Species extinction, right? Overpopulation, war and violence, loss of purpose and soul, so to speak, right? So this man that's going everywhere on the earth, and all he did was basically create concrete jungles, man. Okay, and that's where the people live. This man's so wicked, right? And evil, man. He's displaced the animals. Yeah, that's one thing for sure. He's even taken, the trees, man. Back when I was growing up, okay, so to speak, you used to be able to kind of go around and see, like a peach tree or apple tree or, some form of fruit type of tree, and within the areas of the city, man. But what this devil did was, he cut down, or all the female trees, man. Okay, so now you don't see trees growing fruit anymore anywhere. Okay, and that gets people, kind of goes back into this one, the food one, but that gets people going to what, the so-called grocery store, right? Now some people go to farmers markets and still deal with those, and a lot of people are turning back to, farmers markets, because it's, they don't want to deal with the BS that's in the stores, man. Okay, so here it is. He purposely, cuts down and destroys female trees so that you don't, basically have trees with fruit, man. Now you got a whole bunch of male trees, and what comes from off the male trees? Pollen, man. That's what comes from them. That pollen blows, basically it kind of like blows within the air, and it covers and saturate everything, but it was supposed to, meant to go to female trees, man. Okay, so they could produce fruit, man. Okay, and we all know, we're not going to get into what pollen does, to the human body, but it creates those, so-called, I'll just say, ailments, man, and that keeps people going to the store, the D store. We'll say that, you know. All right, I'm kind of close up a little bit on that. We'll just see what it says here. Okay, that just kind of goes back into that concrete jungle I was talking about before the Renaissance, and harmony with creation. You see the people here just, living with be a more along the lines of a normal life, and then we see those major so-called concrete jungles, man, being established. Okay, these giant castles, paved roadways, and everybody operating within the confines of a city, man, so to speak. Okay, and then let's go over here. We'll just see about this. It says the age of an industry progress without wisdom, and created the city, the trains, everything that has to do with pollution. But you see what the end result is. The end result is what? Basically destruction, man. A destroyed water. Okay, destroyed people. Okay, destroyed food. All right, and destroyed air, man. Ultimately. Zoom in right there a little bit. All right, so you see what this devil's about, man. Okay, these are all actual facts, man, on everything that he's done. All right, now let's go. Which I had some precepts up here. We'll just get like a few of them real quick and close out. All right. Let's see here. All right, this is Habakkuk 2 and verse 4. It says, "Behold, his soul, which is lifted up, is not upright in him, but the just shall live by his faith," man. And we'll catch it real quick in the GNT. And it says, "And this is the message: those who are evil will not survive, but those who are righteous will live, because they are faithful to God." All right, and ultimately, Esau, Edom, right? Because that's who this talking about. Esau, Edom, the Edomites, the so-called white man. His very existence, his being, isn't right, man. Okay, like it said, his soul is not an upright soul, man. This man is extremely, extremely wicked, man. Right, receiving his power from the spiritual demon Satan. Okay, going into like we was talking about. Okay, let me go back to this here. All right, going back into what this man accomplished. When you really look back on everything that he's done, name one good thing that Esau, Edom, the Edomites, the so-called white man, has done on the earth. One. Just name one thing. He's nothing but death, destruction, graping, famine, okay? His power is the sword, man. His power is literally to destroy. His inventions destroy, right? His plots, his plans, his schemes, the things he think about completely destroys everything, man. All right? And that's why I titled today's lesson is Esau, Edom, the Edomites are anti-life, man. Okay? If it's living, it's breathing, its purpose is to do X, Y, and Z, okay? Whatever it's designed to do, he just, flips it upside down, okay? And makes it opposite. That's what he's designed to do. All right. And it says, yeah, also because he transgressed by wine, okay, by his doctrines and philosophies, right? The scriptures tell you that let's go get this out of Isaiah 47. I think it's verse, okay, this here real quick. It's Isaiah 47 and verse 10. It says, for thou hast trusted in thy wickedness. Thou hast said, none seeth me, which the Lord sees him, right? It says, thy wisdom and the elders and apostles, the prophets, we also see him for who he truly is. Now the world don't see him for who he truly is, but we do through the spirit and power of Yahweh Shem Shai. And it says, thy wisdom and thy knowledge, it had perverted thee, man. And it says, and thou hast said in thine heart, I am, and none else beside me. Okay. Let's go back to that Habakkuk 2, right? And that's that transgressive by wine. Okay, that wisdom and knowledge, it perverted him, man. Okay, the everything he represents and he put forward to the earth is just wicked. That's it. Okay, wickedness increases with this devil in power, man. I don't know why that just went off, Salakia. And it says, he is a proud man, neither keepeth at home. It says, who enlargeth his desire as hell, and is as death, and cannot be satisfied, but gathereth unto him all nations, and heapeth to himself all people, man. He's what? Right? He's a proud man, right? He's all over the earth. It says, neither keep it at home. He's everywhere, man. He's in he's in other people's nations. He's telling them what to do, right? He's coming with democracy and republicanism, being a Republican, so to speak, and he's doing what? He's spewing out his wine, man, his doctrines and philosophies, okay? And those people are doing what? Some people go along with it because they see him as rich and powerful and they want to be like him. But then some people are like, man, get out of here, man. And what happens when you want him to get out of your land, right? He does what he do, man. Okay, he coming out with the sword and he takes over, man. Infiltration, all right? It says, who enlargeth his desires as hell, right? The graves are never full, man. So guess what? The same way that the graves, right, are never full, that's how his desire is, man. He can never be satisfied, like what the scriptures say, right? And is as death. Everywhere he go, he leaves behind what? Death, man. Okay. And death and destruction. All right. And gather it unto him all nations, and heap it to himself all peoples. Right? Okay, and that's what he does, man. Okay. That's classic Esau, basically Esau Edom, 1-on-1. Damn, try this one more time. I don't know why it's doing this for 1 hour. Salakia. I don't know why it keeps going off. It's just number Satan, man. See, there it goes again. I don't know. So we'll just hurry up and finish off because, it may just cut off for some reason or something like that. Again, Salakia. But this is Proverbs 12 and verse 10. It says, a righteous man regardeth the life of his beast. It says, but the tender mercies of the wicked are cruel, man. All right, and we see in this picture, man, you see you had life all the way over to the right, okay? And then this is the end result of letting Esau, Edom rule, the Edomites, okay? The so-called white man. You got life in abundance and everything's natural and pure, so to speak. And then you just got a desolate wasteland, right? You're left dealing with this devil, okay? All right, let's see here. Let's go get this and then we'll close. All right, this is Revelation 11 and verse 18. It says, "And the nations were angry, and thy wrath is come in the time of the dead, that they should be judged, and that thou shouldest give reward unto thy servants the prophets." Right? We're hoping to be rewarded from Yahweh Shemel Shai, and hopefully we are of that number, right? And it says, "And to the saints and them that fear thy name," and it says small and great, "and shouldest destroy them which destroy the earth," man. That's it. That's the whole egg in a nutshell. These devils have did what? They destroyed the earth, right? So the Lord is going to destroy them in turn, man. Okay, in due time, right? The Lord has set bounds that this devil cannot pass, okay? And he will be destroyed, taken out of power, out of rulership, all right? Yeah, but that's all I have, pretty much through the spirit and power of Yahweh Shemel Shai. Lord willing, this lesson was edifying, first and foremost, the whole for elect. Okay, Esau, Edom, the Edomites, okay, it's anti-life, okay? Everywhere they go, they destroy everything. Everything they put their hand to, they destroy, man. Okay? All right, but like I said, that's all I have through the spirit and power of Yahweh Shemel Shai. Lord willing, this lesson was edifying, first and foremost, to the whole for elect. But prior to getting out of here, we want to give out infinite honor and glory to Yahweh, by Hashem Yahweh Shai, by Hashem Hakadash. Double honor to the elders and apostles, that great millstone who rule and teach well. Peace, blessings, and salutations be to the whole for elect, scattered throughout the four corners of the earth, all right? Kwam Yasha Allah, Abba Shalom.